In 1995, this document was passed on to members of EME, the American Indian Movement. It regarded experimentation on California prisoners regarding 2020 neural chip implants in the brain. This document outlined that specific members of the Mexican Mafia had been implanted with chips inside their brain. Never before has this document ever been corroborated and is considered a conspiracy until today. Yuval, salutations and a clenched fist salute, YouTube renegades. Welcome y bienvenidos to the Outlaw News, the small 1,800 plus nobody platform on YouTube that sprays the YouTube yarda with a flare-tip can of Krylon Klecha. I am your host, the YouTube Magonista, the Cholo journalist, the voice of the barrio, the voice of the Vato Loco, the voice of the voiceless. Que pasa, Cyber Raza? Hope all is well today in Cyber Vato land, and everyone is here today either 113 or 114% activated and strapped with their critical thinking beanies on extra tight, homeboys. So, if we're suited and booted and listo for acción, then let's mount up, Outlaw Posse, and ride to the dark side of YouTube for a moment. Though we outlaws shall surf through the dark valley of snitch influencer platforms, an outlaw shall fear no snitch influencer's lies or manipulation. Now, YouTube renegades, that we set the mood for today with our official outlaw credo, it's time to get activated. And today, YouTube renegades, we're going to discuss something I titled Mundo, Programmed to Snitch, Programmed to Kill, La EME, and the secret MK Ultra program. As I said in the beginning, the intro, this document regarding the 2020 neural chip implants at Pelican Bay on suspected members of the Mexican Mafia experimentation has never been corroborated, and it's been called a conspiracy by many. And there's not that many people who know about this, only a few people. This document basically outlines that they were testing chips on specific members of the Mexican Mafia, implanting them to use them as listening devices and to implant thoughts into these individuals. Now, I know this sounds like a conspiracy, and some of you, I wouldn't doubt it isn't, sounds crazy. You've all heard Mundo call me a crazy conspiracy theorist that believes in aliens and what other nonsense he does say about me. But the outlaw's still here on YouTube. Where's Mundo? Ran off the yarda like a fucking bitch. Because he knows this day was coming. That he would be exposed for who he really is. And today, you're gonna know why I constantly refer to him as MK Ultra test dummy or test subject. So, like I said, this document has never been corroborated. I can sit here and read this document to you guys, but I'm not. I'm gonna leave it on the screen for you guys to see. It's easily accessible on the internet. All you have to do is Google that title and you will find it. But the true story of this neural chip implant isn't in 1995. We actually have to go back to 1972, Vacaville prison, specifically the Lister unit, which was a secret experimental unit funded by the CIA, which was conducting MK Ultra experiments, mind control experiments on prisoners. Now, let me tell you a little something about the MK Ultra project. The purpose was to create spies/informants, programmed killers, and agent provocateurs, all of which Mundo has done. He has acted as an informant. He claims to have killed over 20 plus people. and he's acted as a nation provocateur. If you guys pay attention, he tries not to after I confronted him about it on his comment section, but between April and September of 1972, Mundo Mendoza was one of the first individuals chosen to be sent to the Lister unit for psychosurgery in his brain. Now, he claims that this surgery was never performed on him, and instead they used drugs on him. And later on, I'll explain these drugs. But Mundo, in fact, was an MKUltra CIA mind control test subject. And I can prove it with two specific documents that I have from the MKUltra CIA declassified files. So anyone that tries to question the authenticity of these, all you have to do is go on their website and look at the declassified files yourself. One, in fact, and this is very interesting that you guys have to understand, I don't know if it was 1977 or 1978 when the Jonestown massacre happened, where the largest known mass suicide of individuals happened in a rural part of South America, which was run by some crazy cult leader named Jim Jones. Well, one of the individuals that was murdered during the Jonestown mass suicide, was Congressman Leo Ryan, who was led to investigate claims of mind control experiments that were happening at Jonestown. Now, I have to point this out, and it's very important, that a large portion of the individuals who were in Jonestown and were part of this mass suicide were awarded to Jim Jones and his church cult, either through Atascadero mental hospital for the criminally insane in Northern California, or were paroled from Vacaville prison and given to him as a place for them to parole. Now, the reason I bring up Jim Jones, Jonestown, and specifically Congressman Leo Ryan is because Congressman Leo Ryan was led to Jonestown first when he was investigating the kidnapping of Patty Hearst, which was supposedly done by a revolutionary. They weren't really revolutionaries. They were created in order to discredit revolutionaries, the Symbionese Liberation Army, which was led by an individual named Donald DeFries, aka Sin Q. If you guys speak Spanish, or you guys know your Nawa, cinco, Sin Q, 5. Well, anyways, Donald DeFries would eventually be killed, along with a few other members of the SLA in a mass shooting in South Central Los Angeles, I believe. Well, it is said and believed by many people that Donald DeFries was an MKUltra test subject himself, who was also coincidentally in the same special unit, the Lister unit at Vacaville prison, at the very same time with Mundo Mendoza. And I say this because if you look at the document that's on the screen, Congressman Leo Ryan sent a letter to the head of the CIA asking specifically if there was mind control experiments happening at Vacaville prison. And he was investigating it because of the Symbionese Liberation Army and the kidnapping of Patty Hearst. So, what would become the Jonestown mass suicide and the killing of Leo Ryan really started with investigating what was happening at Vacaville prison, specifically the Lister
Mendoza,
unit.
you've been selected to be enrolled in the Lister program. It's a surgery to remove the front part of the brain that controls the violence. It's a government-funded program.
Now why would I give you the best part of me?
Because you're the perfect candidate.
Which was a test ground, which was confirmed under oath in a subcommittee hearing regarding the MKUltra experiments by the head of the CIA.
On MKUltra, made available to both the Church Committee and the Subcommittee on Health, mentions electroshock and harassment substances, covert testing on unwitting U.S. citizens, the search for new materials through arrangements with specialists in hospitals and universities, and the fact that the Technical Service Division of CIA had initiated 144 sub-projects related to the control of human behavior. The most significant new data that has been discovered are, first, the names of researchers and institutions who participated in MKUltra projects, and secondly, a possibly improper contribution by CIA to a private institution. We are now in the possession of the names of 185 non-government researchers and assistants who are identified in the recovered material dealing with these 149 sub-projects. There are also names of 80 institutions where work was done or with which these people were affiliated. The institutions include 44 colleges or universities, 15 research foundations or chemical or pharmaceutical companies or the like, 12 hospitals or clinics, in addition to those associated with the universities, and 3 penal institutions.
He acknowledged that Vacaville prison was one of the prisons that was conducting the MKUltra experiment on prisoners. There are several news articles to outline that these experiments took place. There's even, if you look at the other document I'm going to show you, a confirmation letter from the superintendent medical doctor at Vacaville Lister Unit confirming that all the documents regarding MK Search, which was a sub-project of the MKUltra project at Vacaville Prison. All documentations regarding the MKUltra testing that was happening at Vacaville Prison was allegedly sent to the head of the CIA, which he used those documents when he testified under oath to the U.S. subcommittee, confirming that these experiments is not a conspiracy, as Mundo wants people to believe, and as they're going to push, the snitch influencers are going to push that I'm just a conspiracy theorist, that there's no fucking corroborating this, right? But yet I can show you actual documents that in fact MKUltra testing was happening at Vacaville Prison, and Mundo Mendoza was one of the individuals. And it can be easily proven because in 1972, right, he was returned back to the general population in September, just as Joe Morgan was paroling to start chaos and start killing Rudy Catina's support on the streets. And while Mundo acted as an agent provocateur to create the division which he proudly admits he created between the North and South. It wasn't Rudy Catina that created the division. It was Joe Morgan, which we know was an informant, and Mundo Mendoza, who proudly admits that he was one of the main orchestrators of the division between North and South Chicanos. So he was an agent provocateur, right? Do you know he admits that he killed about 7 people while he was in prison? Yet he got early parole, and the administration knew about these things. He claims he's killed over 20 plus people. So he is a program killer. Okay? So he's an agent provocateur and a program killer. All after he left the Lister unit. He committed no crimes, at least no big crimes in prison or murders, before he was in the Lister unit. Only after the Lister unit. And we all know that he claims in February of 1977 to decide to become a Christian and become an informant, which we now know is bullshit. Because we know since 1972, since April of 1972, we know Mundo Mendoza was an MKUltra test subject. And he was the perfect candidate. No one cared about him. He came from an abused family. No one would question what was happening to him. And he's not the only one. That's why I titled this Mundo Mendoza, Program to Kill, Program to Snitch, La EME, and the secret MKUltra project, because he is not the only one. But please like and sub to this. Tell people about this video. Let's get it out there, because this video needs to get out there. We need to fucking take Mundo's wind. And this video will take Mundo's wind, clout, and celebrity status. And for those of you who think this is a conspiracy theory, I want you to think about this for a moment. That famous Boston mobster, Whitey Bulger, while in federal prison, was also an MKUltra test subject. And what was he? A multiple killer, agent provocateur, and snitch. Okay? So, this is not a conspiracy. These are facts. But now you see the 2020 neural chip implant. We know that it's been confirmed that the government did conduct these MKUltra test experiments on prisoners at Vacaville prison. And now we know for an undeniable fact that Mundo was an MKUltra test dummy. He's programmed to do this shit. He's programmed to lie, programmed to snitch, programmed to fucking pretend he's a Christian when he's not. But I don't want to just keep ranting off on that clown, because like I said, it's just not him. Now, how many of you guys have ever heard the name Tupi Hernandez from the Ontario Black Angels? How many of you guys have heard the story that Tupi went crazy? Tupi was known to eat his own shit, and he went fucking so crazy that he ended up dying insane. Which is true. He did end up dying insane. And he did end up eating his shit, and he fucking went back crazy. But he didn't just go crazy because he went crazy. There's a reason why he went crazy. Maybe some of you guys know, maybe some of you guys don't know, but oh man, I don't know what year this is in here. Let's see. Shit. Let me see if I go back to the title. Has a year on it. It doesn't. Oh man. This is the year is okay. This Hernandez versus Terhune, United States District Court, Northern District of California, December 12th, 2000. Okay. This is Tupi Hernandez, who filed a case against prison staff at Pelican Bay State Prison, and I believe in federal prison. And you will be able to see this. It's up on the screen. I'm not going to read it all, but I'm just going to give you the short version. This lawsuit, he claims that while in the Pelican Bay SHU unit, they were using electromagnetic low frequency waves to try to brainwash him into becoming an informant. That they were putting voices in his head to make him think that his homies were going to kill him and that his homies were going to kill his family. Of course, the case was thrown out and it was considered a conspiracy, that he was just crazy, and basically no one believed anything Tupi said. Tupi went crazy. He ended up going to federal prison where they hid him because he kept constantly trying to say that he was being brainwashed, that they were trying to get him to debrief and become an informant. Sound familiar? Now, he talks about that there's similar style to the microphones used by the KGB to brainwash people. I mean, this guy goes into some serious shit. Almost sounds the same stuff as the 2020 neural chip implants. Okay? So Tupi Hernandez was claiming that they were using MKUltra techniques on him to try to brainwash him into becoming an informant. For those of you that don't know, Vacaville's Lister unit was built by Pacific Architects and Engineers, which is the same company who built the PICS, prisoner interrogation centers in Vietnam during the Vietnam War, where they used to create the Phoenix program, which is, if you know what the Phoenix program, how they ran the prisons in Vietnam, it is so identical to how Pelican Bay SHU and Corcoran and Tehachapi and all the shoes were run. The same system. Most of those guys that work in those units are all ex-military intelligence that worked with the Phoenix program, either back in Vietnam or the modern version of the Phoenix program. So for Tupi to claim that these things were being done to him, when we know that the same individuals who created the place to give you the psychological effect were the same individuals that created the Phoenix program. And we also know that in 1972, they were conducting MKUltra experiments on prisoners, and Mundo Mendoza was one of them. So now that you look at this statements from Tupi Hernandez's lawyers, what he's claiming, it doesn't sound like a conspiracy anymore. There might be some truth to this, because in fact he did go insane, because he refused to debrief and he refused to become an informant. He chose to go insane and die insane instead of debriefing like that rapist, celebrity snitch boxer Enriquez, right? Who broke under the pressure, the psychological torture, and what'd he do? Start lying and becoming an informant. I don't blame him. I don't blame any of those guys, because it's a psychological torture designed to create them to do that. So it's not something Boxer Enriquez wants to do. It's something out of his control now. But I want to keep this video short. We're at 20 minutes. I'm going to keep it under 30. Now, so now you know Tupi Hernandez also claimed that MKUltra testing was being done on him. And that's not, I mean, now that we know about Mundo and that we know that MKUltra testing, it sounds very plausible. Now I want you to see this. This is from change.org, which is a website where people put up petitions where you can co-sign for their petition, and if they get enough signatures, it goes before Congress or state representatives. I don't really know, but I know it helps change things or help things. This is a petition to stop illegal use of neurotechnology against inmates. Change.org. Now let me see if it has a date on this. The date is March 23rd of 2000 or 2020. No, I want to say 2000. Stop the illegal use of neurotechnology against inmates. Change.org. Rudy Espudo started this petition to the U.S. Senate. See, correct. These go to the U.S. Senate. Now again, I am not going to read this because it's several pages and I want to keep it short. But for those of you who know Crazy Rudy Espudo, get it? Just like Crazy Tupi? Crazy Rudy Espudo from San Diego, who is labeled, okay, not by me, he's labeled and is probably wrongful validated, like many of the guys that are wrongly validated, to be a high-ranking member of the Mexican Mafia. Now, in short, this individual claims that in fact, the 2020 neurochip implants that were happening at Pelican Bay, in fact, is true, and he believes that he himself has a chip implanted in him. And he's asking, well, the petition's gone, it's closed. Your boy, the Outlaw, definitely signed it. He was asking for people to sign this so they go before Senate, so that way he can be taken to a doctor so they can x-ray him and see if in fact he does have a chip in his brain. He goes out to outline the exact same thing that's in the letter that was given to the American Indian movement regarding the 2020 neurochip implant at Pelican Bay. He outlines that he was taken out for some medical treatment, and while he was knocked out unconscious, he believes that's when the chip was put in him. Now again, I'm going to leave this up on the screen for you guys to see. I'm not going to fucking sit here and read everything. But now we know that Rudy Espudo, who's also, according to snitch influencers and so-called gang experts, a high-ranking member of the Mexican Mafia. That's not what I'm saying. That's what they say. All I'm saying is Rudy Espudo is claiming that he is one of the individuals that was in Pelican Bay shoe that received a 2020 neural chip implant. Now, I'm going to end the video here, but I encourage you guys to go Google MK Ultra program, CIA mind control program. Learn about this. You guys need to stop seeing the prison genre or this whole, the prison genre, because that would include movies, books, anything that's regarding prison, from the lens of what snitch influencers say. Because all these snitch influencers at one point have gone through some of this psychological programming, drugs, or chip implants. And I'm gonna leave you with one last one. But I really want comments. Please, people, hit the like, hit the sub, and give me comments. Tell me what you think about this. Does this fucking sound crazy? Or, like always, did I come through with some righteous ass fucking paperwork to corroborate my stories? Unlike the prison boogeyman stories they tell, they're never corroborated, right? Shit they never testified to. They're all heavy hitters who collected taxes for some prison gang, but never led law enforcement to collect that money or show them how the scam works, right? But I'm not gonna rant, I'm gonna leave it one last one. Psycho Mike Robinson, I believe. Michael Psycho Robinson, I believe. Who is one of the first original informants for the BGF or against the BGF. He's an alleged ex-BGF member, which I don't think so. He's probably same thing as fucking Mundo, just infiltrated the group so he can fucking become an Asian provocateur. But he is considered the first informant against the BGF, who went against Doc Holliday and a few other individuals in 1978, I believe. I mean, this guy is a prolific snitch. He linked to the Tupac shooting. He's linked to a couple other shit. I mean, this guy is a fucking prolific snitch. He is the Mob James before Mob James. But the reason I bring this up, because if you guys know famed gang law enforcement celebrity cop Richard Valdemar, who happened to be the handler of Psycho Michael Robinson, gave an interview on some podcast where he admits that Psycho Mike is only a reliable informant when he's on a secret cocktail of psych meds that are prescribed by some doctor in prison. He does not go to a regular doctor even when he's out on the streets. His prescriptions come from some fucking prison doctor. And he's only reliable as an informant when he's on these psych meds. And I say that because remember, Mundo claimed they never did the lobotomy on him. That instead, he chose the fucking psych meds. Just like Michael Psycho Mike Robinson. And I say that because those of you who know, at some point, Richard Valdemar is one of the informants who handled Mundo, handled most of the informants. Most of the high-ranking informants that you hear of have been handled at one point by Richard Valdemar. And Psycho Mike, which is another MK Ultra test subject from prison, happens to be his informant. And the reason I say that is because you guys don't know that Sergeant Richard Valdemar suffers from PTSD from the Vietnam War. He was actually part of the Phoenix program. His job in the Phoenix program was to be the handler of the individuals that were fucking programmed inside the prison interrogation centers, which are the model of Pelican Bay shoe and the shoe system, or solitary confinement period. And then they would be given to individuals such as Sergeant Richard Valdemar and taken on kill missions, where they would go into towns, terrorize towns in what they would call quartiers or gangs of these Viet Cong converts or program code fucking terrorists. These guys would go into the villages, rape women, kill children, kill all sorts of people. And that's why he has PTSD. And I say that because he's over there in Vietnam handling these MK Ultra test subjects from the Vietnam War. And then when he comes back to the homeland, what is he doing? handling MKUltra informants in prison that are modeled after the same Phoenix program when he was in Vietnam War. So I leave you with this. Please always stay suited and booted with your critical thinking beanies on extra tight, because there indeed is a war out for your minds, and these snitch influencers are the ones trying to brainwash you. So I encourage you to look through the lens of a conspiracy theorist who knows about MKUltra. I implore you to learn what the Phoenix program is. Those are the two key things that you need to learn in order to understand this whole prison genre, this whole manipulation, this lies. A lot of this stuff will start making sense once you understand the Phoenix program and the MKUltra program. So with that said, a clenched fist salute y venceremos, YouTube renegades.
The only proven cure that we've been able to come up with for people who are involved in multiple killings. The other alternatives that we have developed, I wouldn't care to be a party to, such as turning a man into a vegetable through a lobotomy or planting electrodes in his brain so that when he feels a homicidal urge, he can push a button on his belt and maybe have an orgasm. To me, these kinds of things would be robbing them of their humanity, and I wouldn't want to be a part of that.